Hi, I'm Craig, and welcome back to another on-the-road video brought to you by ApplianceVideo.com. Stop. Before beginning any repair, always be sure to disconnect the power to the appliance. It is also recommended to test the outlet for the proper voltage. What we have today is a Frigidaire upright freezer. The complaint is that it's not cooling and sometimes loud inside of it. So to start this repair, we're going to access the internal portion of the refrigerator, and you can start by removing all the shelves. Okay, so we have accessed the front of the refrigerator. First thing we need to do, as mentioned previously, is take out the shelving to the unit. Each one of these has two stops, one on each side, that prevents it from sliding in. You'll need to pop these out. You'll see on the actual stop itself, there's a hole that goes through. That's where the wire portion is at, as well as a slit on one side. This is what allows you to pull it out. It can be turned, whatever. Just push your finger around it until you find out where that opening is and push up in order to release them. Now, take out the other stop. You'll push the shelf to the right and then up on the left-hand side to remove it. Follow the same steps for the bottom shelf. And last but not least, pull out your wire bin by pulling it forward and tipping up to get it past the side stops. Your shelves are removed. To get to the evaporator, you'll have to remove 9 screws. You have 4 on the top, 2 in the middle, and 3 across the bottom. These are all Phillips head screws. The tools needed for this repair will be a voltmeter with an ohm setting and a Phillips head screwdriver. Stripped. Your screws are removed. Pull out on the evaporator cover. Now we can get to all of the evaporator components. Okay, when we initially took the back panel off of here, we noticed that it was covered in frost. I had the customer turn the refrigerator off so that it was easy to access the components. You can also get to the components by being very careful with a heat gun or using a blow dryer to melt the ice that would have formed on here. What you have first is you have a defrost termination. You have a white wire that goes to it. This is the power. It goes through the termination up and around to your heating component, which is in here. If this is cutting the power off by losing continuity, essentially your heater's not going to turn on and you're going to have the problem that we ran into today. So the first thing we're going to check is your defrost termination. You'll need to unclip the termination. Next, I will use my meter. I'm going to put it on an ohm setting to see what type of continuity we have through it. In this particular circumstance, we do not have continuity going through it. Sometimes on these, depending on the termination, it might not have continuity whenever it's this hot. I do notice that there is a very small puncture hole right here around the wires. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to test out the heater. You'll have this wire and this wire here. So now we'll test our secondary component just to verify that our cutoff was the actual problem. So we'll also test this for ohms. I'll turn on my beep setting. Okay, so our heater has continuity going through it. Because of what I'm seeing on the actual termination, it seems to me like that's going to be the problem. So today, what we're going to do is replace the defrost termination. So we still have our thermostat unhooked from the wiring. You'll see that there's a very small clip that holds on to the left side of the evaporator. Simply pull up to release that. Now with the new defrost thermostat, when you're replacing it, you go from the back and clip forward. You will have to pull kind of hard. It can be a little tough on there. Just make sure you do not puncture the evaporator by the edge of the metal, that it fits in there correctly. You do not want to get a leak inside this evaporator. Next, you'll have to reconnect your components. Like I said previously, the white wire is your power wire, goes through the thermostat, up through the red wire, and down to the heater so that it can terminate electricity going to the heater once it either gets too warm or once it's blown, causing defrost issues. Now that that is replaced, we can go ahead and reinstall our back cover. Now, reposition your back panel in front of the evaporator. I would start by putting a couple of screws in the top to hold it there. Like I said previously, I am a fan of tightening the screws by hand first. Gives a little wiggle room if you need to adjust something. Now, you'll notice that whenever you pull them out previously, you have two sides of the screws. Make sure that the two longer screws go into the middle. They have a special casing that is long enough for them. You do not want to put them in the back panel or the bottom and risk puncturing something. Now, go ahead and use your drill or your screwdriver, tighten them all up. I don't recommend over tightening, especially on these ones, since the holster that they're going into is plastic. If you over tighten them, you risk cracking that, and it can be kind of loose on the back panel. We have all the screws tightened. Next, we want to reinstall our cover seals. You'll notice that they have kind of a groove that goes through it. This helps it from slipping out. Basically, you want the flat side to be against the wall, the angled side to be against the cover. So start at the top, push it in, bend it down, keep pushing as you go. Doesn't have to be perfect, and just to kind of create a suction from the bottom and down here instead of pulling from inside the refrigerator or freezer, and it also allows for less leaking and cold air to seep out, tricking it. You have these installed. Let's put your shelves back in. To reinstall your shelves, first put in the wire basket. Make sure you tip it down to get it past these stops. Slide it in. Next, you have two wire shelves. As you can see here, one is fatter than the other. The reason behind this is because of this gap. So you know that the smaller shelf goes in first. Oops. So you have to put in the right side is one that slides in. Then you push it over and you install the stops so that the shelf cannot be taken back out without removing them. And last but not least, you have your larger shelf. This can only fit in one way, so you're not going to mess it up. If you try to put it in the other way, it just won't go. So install your stops, and this will complete your repair. Thank you for watching another quality video brought to you by ApplianceVideo.com.